So my name's Katie, I'm a professional makeup artist, and I'm going to show you really easy techniques to get a really lifted brow. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to get a spoolie like this. You can get these anywhere because these are really crucial for helping you actually create the initial lift to your brow. So let's just work on this brow so you can see the difference. We're going to brush up our brows. So typically, I like to do my makeup first and then do my brows last because then I can judge how much brow product my makeup needs. So let's just brush our brows up. Now, once you've brushed them all up, so they're all standing to attention, you can see I have hair that's poking up. Take the tip and you're just gonna pop those hairs down. So typically it's from the arch down to the tail, like so. Now, can you see already how much lift I've got just by using this spoolie? Now, for many of us, we get quite gappy around this part here. And if you've ever over plucked or over waxed your brows in the past, I'm going to show you how to get back the perfect shape of brow for you. So all you're going to need to do for that is get a pencil, and because we're going to mark out where our brow typically should start, where the arch should be and where the end of our brow should be. And then we're going to use a brow pencil like this one. You might have one at home. As a makeup artist, this is one of my preferred ones because it's so thin, it will mimic the hairs, so it doesn't look like you've drawn anything on. It will look like your brows, okay? Anything I'm using, there's a link so you can read more about it, but you might already have one of these at home. So when I choose a colour of brow pencil for a client, I will be looking at the colour of their natural hair. So this is my natural hair colour here. So I like to go, this colour is medium brown. Typically, I would say don't go darker than your natural hair colour because then your brows can look too harsh. If you're naturally blonde, then go for like the lightest shade. Typically there's a blonde or a taupe, but I would go for my natural hair colour. So even if you've got your hair dyed, go for your natural hair colour in your brow pencil. So let's first of all mark out where we want our brows to start. So we're going to take a pencil, this is just a lip liner to mark out, and we're going to hold the pencil from the corner of our eye vertically upwards. And this is going to show where our brow should start. So mine aren't too bad, but probably I've over plucked at some point in the 90s here. So let's just put a little dot there because that's where I know my brow needs to start. Then let's mark out where our arch should be. So again, the corner of our nose is really important when it comes to brow shaping. So from the corner of the nose across the iris like that, this is going to show you where your arch should be. So let's put a little dot there. And if you've over plucked like the tail of your brow in the past, you can map where that should be. So again, the corner of your nose, and this time you're going diagonally, and this is going to show where the end of your brow should be. So I haven't over plucked too much over the years, but that technique really helps you. If your brows are thinned or you've over plucked in the past, you can remap out the shape. So typically when people do their brows, it's really tempting to go heavy-handed. Now, the technique I'm going to share with you will teach you how to draw realistic brow hairs. So let me show you on the back of my hand. Now, when a hair grows, it's growing from the follicle. So typically, the follicle is going to be a little bit thicker than the end of that brow hair. So a way to mimic that brow hair when you use your brow pencil. Now this technique, I will say, typically only works when you've got a really thin brow pencil like this, because it will just be a bit too thick if you've got any thicker. So you're going to put a little bit of pressure and then flick upwards. Can you see? That is the root and that there is the end of the brow hair. And this technique creates that natural looking brow hair. So much more natural than if I was just to draw a line like that. Can you see? That's me drawing a line like that. And this is me putting a little bit of pressure and then flicking up. Much more natural, and it's mimicking the root of the hair. Does not have to be perfect, but what you don't want is lines like that. You want flicks. Okay, so now we've marked where our brow should start, which mine was there. I'm going to just remove that dot with a little Q-tip. I remember where that is. And then we're going to hold our pinky finger by our nose. This creates a really lovely stabilizer. And then we're just going to flick up like so. We're not creating loads of heaviness here, because often when people create too much thickness towards the start of their brow, it starts to look too blocky. Now don't worry, this does not have to be perfect. You're just going to create tiny little hairs like that. Then on the end of this pencil has a spoolie with it. If yours doesn't, you're going to get your original spoolie that you worked with at the start. And then I'm going to come close. You're just going to brush upwards, and little brush like that just blends in those hairs. Now, if you've got particularly gappy brows here, then you're now going to take your pencil, use your pinky finger as your stabilizer, and you're going to go across from where your brow starts, across the root of your brows into the arch of your brow. And what this is going to do is create real structure to your brow shape from the start of your brow to the arch. Like so. Okay, can you see that's just added a bit more structure? And then again, I'm going to blend that line up by my spoolie. So really, really easy. Now, can you see already that that brow is coming along? Now, it might not be perfect because I can't look in a mirror doing this. I'm kind of looking in my phone as I do this live. So let's add a little bit more there. Now, let's pretend that your arch needs a real lift to it. So we can, remember we marked out our arch here. So I'm like, okay, this is where my arch needs to be. Look at the direction in which your brow hair is growing. Typically, you'll notice that brows grow kind of up here. And then when they get, in fact, let me look in my mirror to just double check. When they get to the arch here, they start going a little bit this way. And down like that. So you're following how your hair naturally grows. And when you do that, your brow hair will look much more natural that you recreate. So when I want to heighten my brow, and by heightening my brow, that's going to create the illusion of a more lifted brow, then I will simply mimic the direction of which my brow is growing. So here they're growing slightly downwards. And I will make my arch slightly higher by drawing over the top of my brow hairs. Can you see? Let's have a look at the difference. So look, this is looking much more subtle but lifted. I think this is really giving this part of my eye a lift here now. Oh, thanks for the thumbs up people are giving me. Oh. Then say the tail of your brow is quite weak, so perhaps it's thinned over time. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take your pencil and you're going to draw this pencil into your brow hair. You're not going to go over it, you're not going to go below it, you're going to go into the brow hair like this. Done. For me, I would leave it there. I wouldn't do any more. Now, let's pretend you're in a real rush in the mornings, okay? And you're like, oh, I can't be bothered with all that. Because the thing is, as a makeup artist, I want to teach you the exact way to do it so you can do it. But I also want to teach you little shortcuts. So this is one shortcut you can do on the other brow. So always going to brush your brows up. Always brush them up. It's going to create your shape. Then you're going to take the tip of the spoolie, brush down from the arch to the tail, any that are poking up. Oh, thank you for people giving me hearts and little smiley faces. It gives me confidence because it's quite intimidating coming on doing a live. Then this time, we're not going to bother with all that technique that I taught you before. We're just going to take the pencil and we're going to draw a line from the start of our brow to the arch. So from here to here. That's all we're going to do, okay? Then with the spoolie that's on the end of this brow pencil, we're going to brush up that line to blend it in. So this is if you've got all right brows, they don't need a lot of work. And then I would typically, can you see that this one that I've done a lot of work on, I think frames the eye better because I've done it the makeup artist way, but this way, which is a quick way, it still looks good, but I'm just going to add in a few little fake hairs at the start there, and then I'm going to brush them so it blends. So this way is just a really quick, cheap way. I think still looks passable, still looks all right. So, something about doing lives on Facebook makes me sweat. So the next thing you can do, okay, is to further enhance the lift, you can, at the moment, I'm wearing this palette. It's a bronzer, blush and a little glow. So I've got this all over my face. But what I like to do is always take a bronzer. You might have a bronzer at home you can do this with. Take a fluffy brush. And I would take my pinky finger and I would just run it into my socket line, backwards and forwards. You don't have to be perfect with this. It's just getting the colour into your socket. I'll do a little bit more. The lovely thing about this is that you can build it up quite naturally so it doesn't look overly too much. Very subtle, but if I move closer, hopefully you can see I'm creating just a little more depth of colour in my socket. When I create more depth of colour in my socket, what that does in turn is it makes my brow bone here look lighter. So there is more difference between my brow bone and my socket. So if you have a hooded eye, if your eye's hooded, you would actually put this shade of bronzer into your socket and blending into your hood, okay? But you want to make sure this, let me show you the Q-tip. This little section of your brow remains free of colour because that will look lighter. Very natural, can you see? Very, very natural, but creates that subtle lift. If you wanted to further enhance that, you could take, this is a great little dual-ended eyeliner. This creamy side here, you can further enhance how light that looks by putting a bit of cream liner here. Now that does look a bit funny, but don't worry, take a pinky finger and just blend. Gosh, sorry, I'm really sweaty, it's like 30 degrees. Blend that in there. Can you see? Very natural. Very subtly adds a nice little lift there. And then let's clean off this tip. And then we'll put a little bit of that cream on our waterline, just to really open the eye. Give a little blend with your finger. Just, especially if you've had not a lot of sleep, it just whitens your eyes. Then on the other end, we've got this mocha shade. And I'm going to show you a really easy technique of just, let's warm up the shade on the back of our hand, like so. It's a lovely kind of dark chocolate shade. You're going to put a little bit of eyeliner right on the corner there, Don't worry about it being perfect. Take your pinky finger, and then with your pinky finger, you're just going to wing up that dot of eyeliner that you've just put in. And then I'll just neaten it up. I might need to look in the mirror for this, sorry guys. That's it. So whenever you're doing this, when you want to create the angle of your wing, imagine that your under eye is a smile, and that smile goes all the way up towards the end of your brow. And then that is the angle that you want any little wing. So I'd say that's a micro wing. But can you see? Just subtle little tweaks just to add that bit of lift. So what else have I got on? So I've got this on my cheek. So I put the pink on like that. I've already got it on, so I won't put much more. And then this peachy colour adds a nice little fresh glow. What else have I got? I've got this gorgeous lipstick. You can see how used it is. Sorry. But this is shade Sweet Talk. Really, really natural. And then I think the only other thing I would add to this is my Cosmic Glow. So I put a little bit onto the back of my hand. It'll be a little bit too much, I don't need all that. And I will tap onto my eyelids just to add a bit of glow to my lids. It's not really an eyeshadow, it just makes your lids look glowy and just pretty, so that throughout the day the sun kind of bounces off and looks nice. And then I'll probably put a little bit just on my cheekbones just to add a bit of further lift and glow. Can you see, like when you move, then you'll get a really nice sort of sheen, so that when you've got sheeny cheekbones, your cheekbones always look higher. And then I'll put a little bit just down the centre of my nose, kind of gives a natural bit of contour, a little bit on my Cupid's bow, and then I'll always add a little bit in the middle of my lipstick. Like that, just to add a bit of glow. So what do we think? Do you think you could try those brow tips at home? Let me know. Thank you so much for watching. Have a lovely day, and I will see you soon in another live. Bye.